The first question would be, are you contesting in the coming general election?
Yes, I am.
So which seat will you be contesting in?
In Padang Serai, in Kedah.
Alright.
It's a parliamentary seat.
Okay. And all this while you've been appointed to positions which includes the Vice President post in PKR.
Yes.
So this would be your first real election. So how do you feel about this?
Well, I have worked in elections before, since the 1999 elections, because I entered into activism in 1998 during the Reformasi era, and I have worked in elections since 1999. However, this is certainly the first time that I will be standing as a candidate in a general election. So it's quite a challenge, it's exciting, but the main goal is to garner enough seats in order to take control of the federal government and to change this country and rule this country the way it ought to be done.
Alright. Well, speculation is right that many current Indian MPs and state assemblymen will be replaced in PKR. So, how true is this?
Well, seat deliberations, both seat negotiations with other component parties and within the parties are still ongoing. Certainly, there may be some who may be dropped. There may be new candidates. This is an open secret. But we expect that most of, well, certainly speaking for Gunalan, we expect that most of those involved will be able to accept the decision of the central leadership. All decisions are made by the party leadership, and I think most of them will be able to accept these decisions. Most of our MPs and others are quite dedicated. And I think they'll be able to accept it, and there are many ways that they can all contribute to change this country, especially after we take over Putrajaya, which we are reasonably confident of. There's a lot of work to be done to clean up this country, end corruption, clean up administration, and so much of work to be done. There's a place for everyone.
So with regards to Mr. Gopalakrishnan, do you think he'll be allowed to contest as an incumbent independent candidate against you in Padang Serai?
Well, I'm really not sure, because this is a matter for I assume that Mr. Gopalakrishnan is, in fact I believe he has announced that he has asked the BN to allow him to contest on their ticket, if I am not mistaken. I think that is of course a matter for the Barisan National leadership. I have nothing much to say about that.
So what really makes you PKR's best candidate in Padang Serai?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm the best candidate, but I was assigned to contest in Padang Serai by the party leadership, and which of course I immediately accepted, and I started work in Padang Serai quite some time back to send the Pakatan Rakyat and Gunalan's message down to the people, to explain the changes that we wish to bring, and also to attend to problems and issues that arise within the constituency. And there are a lot of problems. If you take Padang Serai, there's a lot of poverty, there are a lot of poor people, and there's a lot of work to be done. In fact, the poverty rate in Padang Serai is quite shocking, and the federal government simply has not done enough to counter the problem of poverty, tackle the problem of poverty.
Is there a separate list of PKR Indian candidates for the coming election?
There's no separate list. There's no separate list of Indian, Chinese or Malay candidates. Candidates are being chosen on the basis of the requirements of the constituency, on the basis of capability, capacity, track record, and on the basis of their potential contribution to a new Pakatan Rakyat government. once we take power, which, as I said, we are confident of doing. These are the main criteria. But of course, at the same time, we do not forget that this is a multiracial country and every race ought to be represented. That is always a consideration. But the primary consideration is the ability of the candidate to bring change to this country and to serve the people of this country. Clean and corruption-free, and having the ideas and the initiative to put this country on the right path.
So, does PKR have any specific plans to uplift the Indian community?
Okay, that's a good question. This is an oft asked question. Let's start from this perspective. 55 years of BN rule has led to people expecting change, economic assistance, socio-economic upliftment to be on the basis of race. This is an approach we completely and utterly reject because it is divisive, it splits up the country, and it makes no sense at all in the modern world. It is almost like a medieval thing, going by race and religion and such things. Our approach is needs-based, and we believe that the needs-based approach is the fastest and most effective way actually in order to uplift Malaysians who have been left behind, whether from lack of education or from poverty or from being just above the poverty line. All these issues can only be tackled by taking an approach that is needs-based. So if that particular sector of the community is suffering from poverty, we have programs to tackle that problem. Or if it is about a question of education, for example, the children of the poor need to be given the best education so that they can break the cycle of poverty. And for that, that's why we are pushing on free education. So, for example, let me just give you one example. Free education is going to help not just the Malays, it's going to help the Chinese, the Indians, the Iban, Pakatan, everybody. So a poor Indian child in an estate is also going to benefit from free education. So the needs-based approach is the best approach, and that is our approach. That can be seen in our manifesto, in Buku Jingga, and in the common policy framework. And look, let me say this, it's an embarrassment and a shame to our country that we still talk, that the current government still carries on administration on the basis of race. It's an absolute shame. In many countries, a lot of the things that this government is doing on the basis of race would be illegal in many countries. It's been outlawed by law. Why does it happen in our country? That's why Pakatan, we're trying to take our country into a new era. An era in which your skin color doesn't matter anymore. And the BN is fighting us tooth and nail. That's what they're doing. They are holding this country back. I'll tell you this again, the BN is holding this country back, and they are tied to a sickening and antiquated doctrine of race and religion in administering the country. Look, this is a political coalition, the BN, which still forbids other races from joining its coalition, its component parties. UMNO is for Malays, MCA is for Chinese, MIC is for Indians. In many countries that would be illegal, and we are moving away from that.
So, yeah, some may say that you and your party appear to be politicizing the death of C. Sugan. So what is your comment on this?
Well, let's put it this way. It's absolutely baseless answer given by those very people who should have taken action on Sukumar's death, which is the government. This is the line of the government and the line of the BN component parties that we are trying to politicize Sukumar's case. We are not politicizing Sukumar's case. We are fighting for justice for that family. We are saying arrest and charge all those who are involved in Sukumar's death. And it's not just about Sukumar and his family. It's about setting an example, a deterrent, to prevent further deaths from occurring. It's not a question of politicization at all. It's a question of fighting for justice. It's a question of getting justice for this family. And if the authorities had acted properly, if the moment Sukumar had died, they had called for an independent investigation, they had suspended and taken action against officers, and the criminal investigation had proceeded properly, we would not need to go and do demonstrations to get justice for Mr. Sukumar and his family. Why are we do not want to do it? Why are we forced to do demonstrations to get justice for Sukumar? The authorities should have given justice for Sukumar. They didn't. We asked them and they refused to entertain us, and we are forced to marshal public opinion in order to pressure the authorities to take action. And that's why we are doing demonstrations, and that's why we are doing public events. Because otherwise the government won't take action.
So you definitely don't believe that you are making political mileage out of other people's paper?
Well, I want to say this. I have been taking up death in custody cases for for 15 years. I only entered politics officially in December 2010 when I was appointed Vice President. In 2009, I was fighting for Sugan, in Sugan's case. I was not a PKR Vice President. I was just an ordinary member of Gunalan at that time. And before that, I wasn't even a political party member when I was fighting for human rights cases. I started off as a human rights advocate. Before I was PKRV Vice President, I was fighting publicly for death in custody cases. After that, I'm doing the same. So where is the argument that I'm doing this for political mileage?
With regards to the second post-mortem, right? If you can't get Dr. Pontik to conduct the second post-mortem, could you get someone from, let's say, Indonesia or Singapore, probably someone from the local scene who is a non-biased expert?
Okay, here's the thing. In Malaysia, there is no such thing as a private postmortem. Private hospitals do not do postmortems. So we are thrown back on all the government hospitals. Now, I want to ask this question to the government. How can we expect the pathologists in the government pathologists to act independently when they have got extreme pressure coming right down from the Prime Minister himself on them in Sukumar's case? Because remember, the Prime Minister himself has intervened in Sukumar's case, preventing Dr. Pontik from coming. He has issued a statement denying it. But what is clear to everyone is that there is massive government pressure on the government pathologists, which is actually not fair on them. So what we said, we wanted an independent post-mortem. It means independent of the government post-mortem report. That was the first post-mortem report by Surendran Hospital. Independent means it cannot be another government hospital. That's not independent. So we need a private pathologist. There are no private pathologists in Malaysia, which is why we went to Thailand and got a respected and distinguished pathologist, Dr. Pontik Rojana Sunon. And unfortunately, the government blocked it. Now, if we were now to go to Indonesia or Australia, what is the guarantee that the Prime Minister won't block that also? Or the authorities won't block that also? There's no guarantee. Which is why we are saying the government must do the right thing and lift the block on Dr. Pontik. Why ask us the question, why don't we look for another pathologist? The correct question should be, why is the government sending a message to the Thai government saying that Dr. Pontik is not welcome here? The government ought to answer that question. I just want to say that under the new government, we want to make sure that the fundamental rights and liberties of the rakyat, okay, is given the highest priority possible. We want to create a free country, a free Malaysia, and it can be done. Every human being who is born on this earth is born free, okay, and save for certain restrictions, such as those who commit criminal acts. Of course, action is taken. People should be able to live free. They should be able to voice their opinions. They should not be under the threat of being arrested arbitrarily. The newspapers should be free. There should be no draconian laws. All these things are achievable. And when this country achieved independence, the federal constitution enshrined all these principles. But this was hijacked by then the Alliance government and now the Barisan National government. Our freedoms were stolen from us by the BN government soon after independence. Our freedoms were there to begin with. Even today it's in the federal constitution. The BN government stole them. What we want to do is, we want to take back those freedoms and we want to give it back to the people. What was stolen from us, we want to return to the people. What was the rights that were stolen from the people must be returned to the people. And that's what this struggle is about. It's about freeing our country. It's about breaking down racial barriers. It's about ending corruption. It's about making sure that every Malaysian has got an opportunity to prosper under our Malaysian skies. It's about that. It's about saving Malaysia. And I feel this, I mean, it's a deep-seated objective for me. Ever since I have been in school, I have been revolted by the way this country has been run by Barisan Nasional. In school days, I used to read Aliran magazine and other magazines where some basic information used to come down as to the oppression of the government. And I'm glad that finally I am able to play a bigger role in saving our country and returning and entrenching the people's freedoms once again. And I can tell you this, a Pakatan Rakyat victory is crucial. It's crucial for the future of our country. Crucial to clean up this country.